and welcome to another edition of Health Solutions with Shawn and Janet Needham, where Team Needham discusses everything healthcare. I'm your host, Shawn Needham, along with my wonderful wife, Janet. And today we are streaming live from the Team Needham Abode podcast studio. And we are super excited to be talking about the real biohack. As influencers in the health and wellness space and pharmacists that compound customized hormones for men and women, we really want to let people know that the biggest biohack there is. I'm going to just cut to the chase and get it out right now. Is not some cold plunge therapy, infrared sauna, red light therapy, peptides, and I'm going to even say this, even hormones. They're not some magic biohack that's going to all of a sudden, you know, increase your health overnight. Janet, you want to talk about that?
Sure. So the reason we chose this topic is because what people are searching for, I think, at least in the United States, is that we always want a red pill, a quick fix. And there's really no quick fix to being healthy. It's your everyday input. And we are in charge of our own diet, our own exercise, our own sleep, our own, employment, where we choose to work, what kind of stress we choose to want to live with, where we want to live. So there's more to your control than what most healthcare providers are even discussing or even talking about. So um, if you want the biggest biohack, especially in my mind, sleep comes first, because that's when our body does most of the work, does the repair, it breaks down, rebuilds, helps with our brain. Hands down, sleep is number one. You're going to die without quality sleep before you die from anything else.
Wow.
Well, unless a car accident,
Yeah,
but we're talking about lifestyle.
right.
You'll die without sleep before you would die without food and water, is where I'm going with this.
Yes.
So what we do every day is the biggest impact that we have on our life, and our lifestyle matters. So quality sleep. I mean, I've heard so many people say, "Oh, I can get away with 4 or 5 hours of sleep." Okay, but your quality of life and the years that you're taking off your life, sorry.
Yeah.
And then, people are like, well, I have a fast metabolism. I can get away with eating junk food. I can get away with this and that. Well, folks, our body needs the nutrition that is quality to rebuild and build good tissue. So anybody who's standing on that, it's going to fall. That ground is not going to last long. So quality food matters. And we've been told, at least for at least 3 or 4 generations now, or decades, decades, that, a low fat diet, a low protein and a high carbohydrate diet is really what we should be consuming. And that, folks, was one of the biggest lies that we have been taught as far as health in our nation. We need to focus on quality proteins and quality fats and low carbohydrates. And the way you achieve that is you stay away from the middle aisles, the processed foods. And yes, there are times, Shawn and I are human. We've traveled. Sometimes you don't have the greatest options and choices. But if you're adding up over time, choose the best you can and then focus on quality food. And that's the best biohack your body will ever get because, let's face it, proteins and fats are what build our tissue. Carbohydrates give us energy, but they don't build our tissue.
And I'm going to just say that it's not just what we put in our bodies, it's what we don't put in our bodies.
Oh, good point.
Is probably the biggest biohack. And I'm just going to give you a word of warning if you, because there's so much of this going on in social media and in the health and wellness space, and we are in that space. There's so much going on about peptides and these, BPC 157 and TB 500, and these being the magic cure alls. And I'm just going to warn you, if you go to a clinic and their first thing is they want to put you on red light therapy and infrared sauna and these peptides, um, you should be very cautious. The first thing they should really address is these three lifestyle issues that Janet talked about: sleep, diet, and exercise. That's going to give you the biggest bang for your buck. Yeah, it doesn't happen overnight, but your health didn't go away overnight. It took years usually. So to get healthy, it takes time. There's no real magic. Those things, I'm not saying those things aren't necessary sometimes, but they're icing on the cake. They're not some magic that's gonna, you know, make you ripped and fit in 30 days.
So I never judge people when they say, "Hey, I take this." That's not the point of this, because if you so choose to use red sauna or cold plunge or peptides, it's not that that's 100% bad. That's not what we're
No,
saying. What we're saying is the most important thing that we should focus on is our lifestyle. And one of the pieces too that we talked about sleep, we talked about diet, we talked about exercise, but stress, how our body addresses stress is part of how we as humans or in our lifestyle address it. And there's a huge part of that when you sleep well, when you eat well, and when you are exercising, stress is lower for us. I mean, obviously there's times where, you know, life happens, somebody passes away, you lose a job, or you have to move, or I mean, there's stressful events, but how we look at it and how we address it, we have the choice, right? Like we get to decide how we are going to live and how we're going to address things. And I think that's super important because right now in the social media space, there's so many people. We sell supplements, but you can't supplement yourself out of a bad lifestyle. You
no.
can't biohack yourself out of a bad lifestyle. And if we are just looking for a magic fix, it's not there. It's the little things that we do day in and day out that are super important. And that even comes from, we're both pharmacists and we don't believe in long term drug therapy for most people for chronic illnesses. There might be some exceptions, but for most of us, for most of how we have treated our body and what choices we have made, those are the consequences that we live with. But we can correct those things. I mean, the good thing is there's physicians out there, there's providers out there that are doing an amazing job with clients, helping them get on the right path. If your doctor wants to give you another pill just to add to the list of another pill for a side effect, and they're not looking at root causes like your lifestyle, like what you do, how you sleep, how you eat, how you exercise, run, because they aren't your friend. They're just in a big system that isn't helping people with their lifestyle change the trajectory. And honestly, the people that live the longest usually aren't on a lot of medications, or they're not doing a lot of extra stuff. They just live a healthy lifestyle.
Yeah, and if you have a doctor that just wants to give you drugs and not address the root causes with your lifestyle, you've got a drug dealer. You don't have a
Yeah.
healer. And as doctors, as pharmacists, as healthcare professionals, we're supposed to heal people. We're not supposed to make them sicker. And all drugs have toxicities. We call them side effects, but what we should call them is toxicities because they're poison.
Right.
And those side effects are the poison interacting in your body. And there's no disease that's been healed by taking a drug. That's really, they might treat some of the symptoms of a disease, but they're not healing the disease. A good example is type 2 diabetes. It's an epidemic in America. And we give drugs to lower blood sugar. And we have drugs that do it very well. But high blood sugar is just a symptom of the diabetes. There's underlying metabolic problems going on. And sure, we can give you drugs and, oh, great, you got great blood sugars now. And that's what the standard of care is. So doctors are paid by insurance companies on certain parameters to monitor your diabetes and to control it. And so they give drugs to do that. And the drugs work well, but it's not treating the root cause. I mean, the root cause is what you're putting in your mouth.
Right.
If you have type 2 diabetes, it's a carbohydrate metabolism problem, and you need to eat less and stay away from carbohydrates. Those are just facts.
Right. So the process that's happening in your body is that all of those sugars in our carbohydrates, because that's what a carb is, it holds on to water and sugar, and it causes a state of chaos at the cellular level, and it triggers your pancreas to keep releasing insulin. So you become insulin resistant because we keep giving it the signal. Well, the best way to stop the signal is stop giving the problem, right? Like stop putting in your body what you is causing the trigger. Fats and proteins, when our body needs it, break down into sugar when we need it. So what we vilified is the good things that our body needs. Now, Shawn and I both agree there is appropriate times to consume carbohydrates. However, with our pyramid and what we've been taught, I remember through pharmacy school, low fat, as low as you could get, you know, low protein, high carbohydrates. It was just all about a scam, in my opinion. The one thing, though, that I will say about what I learned in pharmacy school that kind of sticks with me a little bit is that everything in the wrong proportion can be toxic to our body. And I'll give the example of water. We all have to have water to survive. We are made up mostly of water. I think, what is it, about 70%?
Mhm.
But if we keep putting in too much water into our body, we will actually die. So we have to have the right proportion. So that's backing up into our diet. You have to have the right proportion. Now, let's think about this. Shawn's intake of protein and fats is going to be different than my requirements, or at different times. Or let's say you're pregnant, or let's say you're an endurance athlete. Of course, it's going to look different. But we don't talk about those things in our doctor's office anymore. We don't talk about our lifestyle, how we sleep, how we eat, how we live. The only thing we do is we measure these parameters, like what's your blood glucose, uh what's your blood pressure, what's, anything that's a measurement to
Cholesterol.
decide, right,
Mhm.
cholesterol. Sorry, I forgot that one. Um it's all about a measurement of some, number or some
And guess what?
indicator
We have a drug to treat that number.
for every one of them. And we can keep going, right? And really, the most inexpensive thing that we could do for ourselves that gives us the biggest impact is how we live our life.
Yeah, and that's kind of free. And let's talk about that. Let's talk about eating healthy. There's a misnomer out there that eating healthy is expensive. Well, I'm going to steal Janet's words. First of all, you either pay now or you pay later.
Right?
You know, but that being said, eating healthy is actually less expensive than um, eating junk food, processed foods. Let's give an example. So, and hopefully, those of you watching us don't eat box cereal, but if you did, a box of Lucky Charms.
True.
Excuse me, I'm dealing with some allergies. A box of Lucky Charms, 5.99. Okay, excuse me. Um, a box of Lucky Charms. Seriously, I mean, if I could eat a whole box of Lucky Charms. I'm still at a stage in my life where I have to stay away from those things. I don't crave them necessarily, but if they were in front of me and I started eating them, I could eat the whole box if I wanted to. I could eat a whole box of Krispy Kreme donuts. So, box of Lucky Charms, 5.99. A pound of ground beef. $4.99. Eggs, they're less than 50 cents each. So a pound of ground beef, um, $4.99. That can probably feed you twice in a day, depending on your activity. And eggs at 50 cents, eat 2 eggs with that. You're eating for $3. You're eating for $6 a day. At put substitute sausage or chicken instead of the ground beef, and it's even cheaper. Uh, Throw some fresh broccoli in there. Broccoli, cheap. Potatoes, throw some potatoes in there. We like fingerling potatoes. Throw some potatoes in there. Potatoes are cheap food. You could eat for literally dollars a day per person. You're eating junk food, box food. That stuff adds up. Fast food, I dare you to go to McDonald's and get out of there for less than $10. And you could say, oh, well, Taco Bell has a dollar menu. Yeah, but who spends just a dollar? You order 5 things off the dollar menu, and then you're still hungry later. Janet?
So, one of the things I think that we've taught ourselves in our society is that we have to make a meal like a crash and dash moment, right? And other cultures don't treat um, eating like a fast situation, right? Like, take your time, slow down, relax, especially like in your evening. Have an evening meal with family, but don't make it like stuff your mouth and run. Relax, and you will
Enjoy the
find
experience.
right.
Enjoy
You
it.
will find that you eat less. You're more satisfied if you're eating real food, and stay away from the window. Like, there's times, and I'm not judging you, there's times where that's the only option we have when we've been traveling. However, you can make better choices on those menus, but don't make that a habit. And then make your meal time a relaxing moment. Don't just like inhale. I think that's one thing that I see that is really sad is that you know, you have 30 minutes and you just cram it and run. Relax. Enjoy your food, enjoy company, be with people. Don't make it like a burden, and stay away from as much as you can that drive through. Now, there's a time and a place. I mean, Sean and I just posted recently, we were traveling and we had coffee at a coffee shop. It was like our dessert. It was like an enjoyment, but we don't do it every day. We were traveling, but at the same time, it was great coffee, but we didn't have the 10, 12 ounce or whatever. We had a cup, right? Like, keep it in moderation. Keep your serving sizes real. Because I think that's one thing about America is like everything's supersized. I think we're the only culture that does that. You know, a medium or a large now, gosh, the small used to be the large or the medium versus,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
so, I mean, serving sizes, like, if you don't know, start measuring, start looking at it. But don't make it a hardship and don't make your diet like, crash and run. I think that's one of the hardest things in our culture, is the United States, is that we just shove the food in and run and then go back to work. Relax. And then our body is able to assimilate the food. It's more enjoyable. Eat your lunch with some friends. Don't eat it alone, and perhaps that might change for you.
And when at all possible, which usually it is possible, you might have to prepare ahead of time. That's a concept.
Yep.
But prepare your food. So, chop up the vegetables, cut up the meat. Um, you know, don't have pre-made boxed food that you buy. That's part of the problem too, is it's just too easy to overeat because you just take something else out of the freezer and put it in the microwave and then you eat more. Whereas if you have to prepare your food, not only does it take time, um, but you're mindful more of what you're eating. So make sure you prepare your food. I mean, I try to, when we buy fruits, or I mean, I'm sorry, when we buy vegetables, the most whole vegetables possible, because then it makes us cut them up instead of buying them pre-cut. And those are very handy, when you get the fajita mixes, that the peppers and the onions are in there already cut up. But again, that is just one process that you don't have to do to prepare your food, and that can make you tend to overeat.
So we touched on sleep a little bit in the beginning. People ask us about sleep habits. We were meant to be seeing the light in the morning and the darkness at night. So get outside. There's nothing more helpful for people to, you know, deal with how you sleep healthier by being in the outdoors. And if you live in a city, go for a walk. I mean, as we were traveling, we were in a large metropolitan area, but if you're outside and you're seeing the light and you're moving and you're touching the ground, our bodies respond to that. We were meant to. We're creatures of this earth. So those things are very helpful. And I see a lot more people now that might take a break. I try when I take a 10-minute break to just move, maybe walk a little bit, get outside your office space, expose yourself to the outside and the outdoors, the light, the smells, the trees, all of that matters because we were meant to live in a world with trees and animals in the sky and the earth. We weren't meant to just be in a corner somewhere.
And let's remember that, let's not vilify sleeping too much. I get it. We want to be productive. Um, and so there is, obviously you could sleep too much. But if you move a lot, if you're outside a lot, um, and you sleep at night and you work during the day or move during the day, which is how we're created. We're not created to work at night. Um, you should sleep well. And I think you should get at least you should be in bed at least 8 hours a night. And I think you should try to be in bed the same time every night and get up same time every morning. Now there's exceptions to that. One exception is we were traveling to Istanbul, and it's 10 hours ahead of us. Obviously, our sleep was interrupted. It's 24 hours to get there basically, and you can't sleep on a plane very well. Don't think that you can. But we knew that because we traveled internationally before. So the next day that we got there, the first full day that we were there, we had nothing planned. And I think we slept, what, 15 hours,
Yeah.
something like that. And don't feel guilty about that. And when we came back the other way, even though we gained 10 hours, we did the same thing. We had a complete day of doing nothing. And again, we slept probably about 15 hours. And I don't feel a bit guilty about it. Um, People wonder what we do for jet lag. Well, the key to jet lag is not melatonin. I'm not saying that wouldn't be helpful. Um, it's not some drug that you get prescribed, Ambien or whatever. It's sleep. Your body is craving sleep.
Yep.
So we finally, after about 3 days, we finally got caught up on that. So hey, Trevor, I don't know if you're still watching, but thank you for the comment. Love this. Great details on real life application. Thank you, Trevor, for watching and commenting.
So the point of this podcast is it's not that you can't do other things in your life to add, like Shawn said, icing to the cake. But remember the core things. Those are the things that you should focus on and make sure that they're first. Now there might be times there's some people that might have deficiencies in one place just genetically or maybe their food supply. That's fine. But just remember focus on the big things first and then add things in as you need. One of the biggest things that I am very frustrated with, and Shawn and I have talked about this before, is that we see all these people out there that are big influencers and they always want to sell you everything that they're doing and they have this big package. Well, if we back it up, like we've been saying throughout this whole podcast, make yourself in charge. Do the things that matter first and then add on to it if you want to. And that might be necessary and that's just fine. But the freeing part of this is that if you get it right, if you can manage your sleep, your diet, and your exercise and your stress, then all these other things will be beneficial to you in a better way because it's not solving the problem, right? The problem usually is our lifestyle and what's missing there. And so root causes usually are in those things. And when you go to a physician for a problem that you may be having, if they're not addressing your lifestyle, if they're not addressing these things, and Sean alluded to this earlier, and they just want to prescribe something for you, they're not looking at the whole picture. And unfortunately, for humans, that's just been a norm for the last maybe 40 years or 30 years. When I bring my cat in or my dog into the vet, we talk about what they're eating, what they're doing, what exercise. I mean, super important when you think that we would do the same thing for humans. I mean, our vets do that for our pets that we, love dearly. Perhaps maybe we need to look at ourselves. And the other part about this that I feel is really important is that when you feel empowered, when these things start coming together for you, you free yourself from having to be in a system that keeps us sick.
And think about this. Think about if you are in a symptom of poor health, you didn't probably get there because of a lack of infrared sauna
No,
or a lack of cold plunge
or a lack
or
of
a,
cholesterol med or
or deficiency in high blood pressure medications or diabetes medications. You got there by your day-to-day activities. So really the way to fix the problem is fix your day-to-day activities. Those are just facts. Some people don't want to hear that.
but that empowers you, right? Like you can start today. And small changes, no matter where you are with wherever this is, small changes come about and do a great impact. So, don't be discouraged. Just take it one step at a time, one thing at a time. Don't make it impossible. And remember, something that is difficult or hard in the beginning might not be. I mean, Sean's talking about, um, maybe certain foods that he might have trouble with. Well, if it's not in front of him, then it's not going to be a challenge, right? So there's things that you are in control of, and we can manipulate ourselves to be healthier by making better choices.
Yeah, just don't buy the junk food.
Exactly. Leave it at the store.
Yeah, and it makes it a lot easier. I'm not going to drive to the store to go get junk food.
Right.
That's for sure. You know. Well, that basically concludes our podcast today with the real biohack. Hopefully, you didn't get any surprises from there, or maybe you did get some surprises, and that's okay. But we just want to, as pharmacists that compound hormones and sell supplements, and that's our major income. We want to be honest with people. The most important things is sleep, diet, and exercise. We don't want to be selling some hack out here saying that hormones are gonna, completely fix your life. I'm not saying they can't. There's a lot of things. I'm not saying they can. And I'm not saying they're not going to help. There's a lot of things they do help, but ultimately you have to do those three things: sleep, diet, exercise. Hormones can sometimes help with some of that, but they're not a magic fix all. There is not a magic fix all. If somebody is telling you a magic fix all out there, and there's a lot of them out there, you need to go somewhere else because they're not worried about your health. They're worried about making money only. And if you follow me enough, I'm a capitalist. I have nothing wrong with people making money, but I think people need to be honest about it. And that's what we're trying to do. We're just trying to be honest. Our health is not we changed our lives by changing our activities, and that is what made me lose 60 pounds 15 years ago now. And it wasn't some you know um, magic hack necessarily. So it was really changing my diet. So all those other things are just icing on the cake. So Janet, how do you want to end this?
Well, I just want to say, probably the easiest thing that anybody can do is make the choice and the decision. It all can be hard for some people. It doesn't mean it's not possible. And start where you are. We've seen amazing changes in people's lives. We all start from somewhere. Sometimes it can be a very hard place, sometimes it's not. But just to let you know, there's thousands of people out there that are working towards, in impacting their health, and they are being successful. We have several times mentioned a series that's coming out here, hopefully this next year, called Healing Humanity. And they're talking about the same thing, and it should be on Netflix. And there's people at very different stages and situations of life that have been able to heal their body with the right input. So stay encouraged and take one day at a time. Start where you are and make the decision to make a change today.
Our goal, as always, this podcast is to educate and empower individuals to take charge of their own health. So hopefully we've realized that goal in your life today. Please, if somebody needs to hear this, please share it with them. Follow, subscribe. We stream on Facebook, X, Instagram, Rumble, LinkedIn, YouTube, and of course we're on all the podcast forums. So like, subscribe, comment. We do try to answer your questions, and please share this so we can get this information out. Thank you for tuning in to Health Solutions with Shawn and Janet Needham. Please turn in Monday to our regularly scheduled podcast, 12:30 to 1:30 Pacific Standard Time. Thank you.